guys. We're talking about the BlackBerry Preve, which is a horrible name for a device of this caliber. It's going to be a great device, a bad device. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy it because it's so overpriced that the average consumer does not want to buy it. And BlackBerry's already done it to themselves. They look at this device as an average consumer, because I have a friend who carries a BlackBerry. She carries it for business, and she carries around the BlackBerry Q10, and she only has one device. And she's never used the touchscreen until the BlackBerry Q10. So when she goes out to the store, she's out with her boyfriend, or she's out like at a restaurant, people look at her and go, "What is that?" And she goes, "What, my phone?" And they go, "Yeah, what is that?" And she goes, "Oh, BlackBerry Q10. And their honest answer is, their reply is, "Oh, people still use those?" Or they reply with, "Oh, they still make those?" And she goes, "Yeah, they still make them. I love the physical keyboard." And a lot of people love the physical keyboard, but a lot of people have grown up to time and said, "Well, the physical QWERTY keyboard isn't there anymore, so I'll just use a virtual keyboard." Because seriously, I can sit there and virtually talk to my phone with the text to talk, or talk to text, what it's called, and literally pump out an email. I could write and say, "Hey, what up, Joe? I'm going to the liquor store to get a couple beers. Do you want anything? Because I'm going to get some chips, make some pizza, and I'll be heading over to your house to watch the Super Bowl, and we'll be there in about 20 to 30 minutes. And that text or email will be sent quickly. You can even do it with Siri. Say, "Siri, text Joe. Joe, I'm coming over to your house at 5 o'clock. The Super Bowl starts at 6. We're going to get some beers, some pizza, and I'm going to bring over my lady so we can watch the Super Bowl. Are you ready? Let's get it rolling." And it would send quickly and virtually typing. And this phone really looks like an up-to-date version of the BlackBerry Torch. It came out like 2012, maybe 2010. And that device was not that great. No one liked it. It was slow and sluggish. Is this device, just because it has a lot of specs and it's looked at as a premium device, is it worth the price point of almost $1,000? I don't think so. And I'm gonna run down the specs just to let you guys know what this device is all about. It's like, BlackBerry's here, and people are like, "The party's done," and they're like, "Oh yeah, when was the party? Oh, it was from 8 to 11, and you showed up at 10:50. Why?" "Well, I still made it to the party." Well, no one cares. You're like the fish out of water, or you're like the dude who stands in the corner and no one talks to, and you're quiet and you're shy. That's what BlackBerry is. BlackBerry should have been, like a lot of people for years been saying, BlackBerry should have been pumping out these devices that ran Android back in like 2012, 2013. If they would have done that back then, maybe BlackBerry would have been a relevant device. From what I see with the specs itself, with the running down the specs of this device, it does look like a really good top contender. So as I read this specs right here, so you guys can understand what the BlackBerry Preve is all about. And it's supposed to stand for like BlackBerry Privacy or something like that. And to me, that's a dumb name. It's gonna have, the BlackBerry Preve features a 5.4 inch AMOLED display with a curved edge, and it has a quad HD resolution of 2560 by 1440 with a PPI of 543, I should say, and that's on par with the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the LG G4. And I'll say this, for the people who are reading this, they'll read the specs and, "Oh, it's good," but a lot of people who are average day consumers only get stuff that's very popular and very easy and stuff that the media says is nice. No one buys this BlackBerry because it has a quad HD display, it has a 1.8 gigahertz processor, it has a Snapdragon 808, and it has 3 gigs of RAM with 32 gigs of storage with a micro SD card slot. It runs Android. It has a 3,410 milliamp battery, with BlackBerry saying it can get up to 22 hours of calling. They also have an 18 megapixel camera on the back and a 2 megapixel camera on the front, and it has optical image stabilization, which can shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second, which is on par with a lot of these devices. But I will have to get it into the office or go to the store and test the phone out, because looking at the device, like I said, it does not look like that bad of a device. But we know what BlackBerry is known for. When you look at the Q10 and all those devices like the Z10, the device wasn't overly appealing. You don't look at it and go, oh god, that's a really crispy, really nice display. And it still reminds you of the BlackBerry Torch. You slide up the keyboard. And is the keyboard really relevant now? Do people really care about having a real physical keyboard? I used to be a hardcore BlackBerry fan, and the reason why I was a BlackBerry fan is because I love the keyboard, and I didn't want to go to a touchscreen because I thought touchscreens were going to be horrible. And once you get used to the keyboard, you're going to be like, well, I don't really need anything better, because a virtual keyboard does just what it's supposed to do, and it does it very well. And maybe when BlackBerry first came out, touchscreens were really horrible, and it was hard to type on, because a lot of like the HTC Aorus, for example, that phone, you had to really press on it when it was running Android 1.1, because the touchscreen wasn't as great as a physical keyboard. But I'm just giving you my opinions by reviewing it, by actually looking at the device and seeing what it looks like. It does not look really like, oh my god, this doesn't stand out. And like I said, it's going to be over $700 off contract. And it says, for those, here's what it says on the site. It says, for those of you in the U.S., BlackBerry is now listing the Preve on shopblackberry.com for unlocked price of $750, or in Canada it will cost $949. And that is crazy. You're pricing this for almost $800 in US, and in Canada it's going to be almost $1,000 after tax. I wouldn't pay $1,000 for a BlackBerry. Maybe if I had that kind of money and I was a real hardcore tech savvy person who needed a phone, all the latest and greatest phones, you could do that for like an iPhone, a Samsung, an LG G4. But for something like this, I don't see someone paying $1,000 in Canada and 579 pounds in Europe. I don't see that. I see it as they're overpricing it, and that's going to be the downfall. The last time you had the BlackBerry Z10, and I actually asked the Verizon store, are people buying this device because it's the shit? And they go, no one's buying it because it's too expensive. They price it like it's a premium device, but they need to be pricing it like it's a $300 device, because people might go off of contract. And I kind of think it's a little ridiculous for being over $749 in the US. Also in Canada, $949, and in the UK, it's also $539, I think. And that's a lot of money for something when people can go out and get an iPhone, an Android device. Yes, this is an Android device, but I've always had BlackBerry Z10, the BlackBerry Curve 8330, which was a great phone when it first came out, and a BlackBerry 8350. They were all great devices for what they were. They were basically a communication device. You didn't really use the web or apps on it. You just used it for email and texting, and they did what they were supposed to do, and they did it very well. But they did it to themselves. They didn't evolve in the times, and that's why BlackBerry has kind of did it to themselves. Will you guys pick it up? It has an 18 megapixel camera on the back for shooting 4K video with optical image stabilization, a 3,410 milliamp battery, and a quad HD display. Maybe it's a good device. I'll check it out and give you my honest opinion coming very soon. Bye bye.